The easiest 500 grand Joe West has ever earned. It's Joe West, umpire, Paul Lo Duca, ex-Met and Dodger catcher. Lo Duca was on a podcast and talking about stories, and he told this story, but like the actual quotes, Jake, like listen to this. This is the story that Lo Duca said. This is him talking. We're playing like a really tight game against the Phillies, and Billy Wagner comes in from the bullpen. I used to go to the mound every time and say, like, what's going on? And he's like, hey, Joe's behind the plate. Set up a couple more inches inside. I was like, are you kidding me? Joe hates me. He's like, no. Joe loves me. I go, he hasn't given us the corner all game. He's like, don't worry about it. He literally throws 10 pitches and strikes out 3 guys. Joe rung up all 3 guys. 8 of the 9 pitches were at least 3 or 4 inches inside. Not even close. Guys were throwing bats and everything. Joe walks off the field. I get back into the clubhouse, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened just now? And Wagner just winks at me. I'm like, what's the secret? He's like, Joe loves antique cars, so every time he comes into town, I lend him my 57 Chevy so he can drive it around, so then he opens up the strike zone for me. Like a really detailed story that Lo Duca told.
Vivid.
Like very detailed.
Vivid.
Joe West never caught a single inning, or Joe West was never umped a single inning with Billy Wagner pitching and Lo Duca catching. So it just straight up didn't happen.
What the hell, man?
Isn't that weird? And now Lo Duca has to pay him $500,000. The easiest lawsuit that was ever settled. And Joe West is like, I'm trying to get into the Hall of Fame of umpires. He's 60 games away from breaking the record for most games ever umped by an umpire. He will go into Hall of Fame. Everyone gives Joe West a lot of shit. They call him Angel Hernandez, but Joe West is a diva and makes the game about him. But whenever you ask a player, they like Joe West, and he's always gets good approval ratings of like his actual umping skills. It's just all the nonsense about him. So he is going to be a Hall of Famer. And this article, Jake, says that Hall of Fame umpires earn $250K a year by doing speaking engagements and like card shows and signings. So Joe West is like, hey, this is terrible. Like that's horrible for my reputation if anyone thinks that's true. And you could fuck up all my career earnings after retiring and my Hall of Fame case. So they ruled in his favor. He gets $500,000. Lo Duca's out.
Jim, you know I specialize, like Charlie, mostly in bird law.
Uh-huh.
But for me, I mean, has there ever been a more open shut case than this? Like, okay, let's check the facts on this one. First of all, never caught a game with him behind the dish, Lo Duca behind the dish, and West calling it with Billy Wagner on the mound. That's the first funny business spell. Secondly, the defamation part of it is huge.
Yeah.
Where Joe West can say, like, yeah, you know, A, trying to be a Hall of Famer and remembered the right way, so this completely false story really sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was one other detail, but I'm a bad bird lawyer, so I don't even remember it. But, like, what the hell, man? Don't lie, kids.
It's so weird. It may like the only thing I could think of is like Lo Duca just had the wrong pitcher. Like in his memory, like, and obviously I think Lo Duca just made up a story because he's on a podcast trying to make up stories. But what if Lo Duca just had the wrong pitcher and now he's out $500,000 because he was actually thinking of a different closer?
Well,
that'd be like, and he's like, just can't remember who it actually was.
Well, that's the thing.
Just inserted Wagner as like a name because he couldn't remember who the actual pitcher was.
So you went to pitcher. I mean, judging from Lo Duca's character and all that stuff, I'm guessing Lo Duca heard this from another catcher and just placed himself in the story.
Maybe.
That makes more sense in my head.
Billy Wagner's stats when Joe West was his umpire, 12.2 innings, 1.42 ERA, 21 strikeouts.
Not bad.